Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, grade 12. So today we are going to talk about the first lesson for the second quarter, which is the power of media. So yung buong pangalan niya, it's opportunities, challenges, and the power of media and information. So this is a little bit delayed kasi supposedly dapat last week pa siya. Pero okay lang yun since this lesson is actually very much related to our previous lesson on the ethical, legal, and societal issues in media and information. Konektado to kasi yun namang mga issues na yun ay related lang din naman sa power of media. So for this lesson, let's start with some pictures of famous influencers kasi most likely sila ang baka mapili ninyo doon sa first activity natin, doon sa ating forum sa CLE for this lesson. So let's look at some influencers na most likely kilala nyo kasi medyo sumikat sila ngayong taon na to or for the past few months, lalo na ditong nagsimula ang ating pandemic and quarantine situation. So, let's start with this one. Ayan. Kilala nyo ba to? Dapat kilala nyo to. Kung hindi, naku, lagot kayo sa batas. Kailangan alam nyo kung sino to. This is Kim Chu. Kilala naman natin siya dahil artista siya, pero ngayong taon na to, nagkaroon ng ingay because of a vlog or nag-react siya about the quarantine, about the situation, and then may mga tao na parang naguluhan doon sa mga sinabi niya doon sa vlog na yon. At alam na natin kung ano yung nangyari. Nagkaroon ng maraming memes, naging viral si Kim Chu. Maraming supporters, maraming bashers, pero nagkaroon ng music video, nagkaroon ng rap music about her. Lahat ng tao nakisakay doon sa issue. So whether you like Kim Chu or not, whether you like the song, whether you like what she said or not, hindi natin maitatanggi that Kim Chu was able to affect people in different levels, in different ways. Hindi nga lang positive sa iba, hindi nga lang negative sa iba. So iba-iba yan sa bawat tao. Pero the fact that she was able to affect you as a viewer, as an audience, speaks volume of the influence of Kim Chu and the influence of social media in general. Kasi sa social media lang naman talaga unang pumutok yung issue na yon, tapos pinick up na siya ng TV and radio. So kahit sabihin niyo hindi ako apektado ni Kim Chu, the mere fact na may idea kayo tungkol sa kung ano yung nangyari tungkol doon sa bawal lumabas ni Kim Chu, apektado na kayo. Umabot sa inyo yung information, umabot sa inyo yung issue surrounding Kim Chu. So, doon pala makikita natin there is influence. There is influence, there is power to affect other people. Next, let's go to this one, the second one. This is 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is, this is Mimiya. Si Mimiya, famous vlogger din siya. Karamihan patawa ang kanyang mga vlogs, patawa. Ngayon pero celebrity na siya, nag-interview na siya, lumalabas na siya sa mga magazines. Yan na siyang latest vlog na ang ganda-ganda ng bahay niya, 'di ba? So ito rin yung isang tao na whether you like him or not, ay nakaapekto sa inyo. Dumaan na yan sa timeline ng Facebook ninyo. May napanood kayo siguro or meron kayong kaibigan na sumusubok magpaka-Mimiya. At kahit papaano, meron kayong idea kung sino siya. So that is Mimiya. Yun, ako rin, natatawa ako sa mga videos niya pero I don't follow him. Pero yeah, I will admit, umabot sa akin yung trend, yung trend na ginawa ni Mimiya. Umabot sa akin, syempre. Next, for the gamers, you should know this. Diba? Oh, ang ganda. This is Aloja. This is Aloja, also a famous, before she became a famous vlogger, she is a famous cosplayer. So mga mahilig sa mga anime, video games, etc. etc. So dyan nakilala si Alodia. So influencer siya, matatawag natin siyang influencer because a lot of people from the gaming world, from the anime world, na may importansya ang mga sinasabi niya para sa kanila. That's why maybe, kaya ko siya in-include kasi hindi lang yung mga artista, hindi lang politiko. Pwede rin ito for video gamers, for anime lovers. There are people who are important to them. At maybe hindi influencer ang isang tao para sa isa, pero influencer siya para sa isang grupo ng tao. And this is what one of the examples, Alodia Gosieng Fiao, Alodia, influencer siya to a lot of gamers, to a lot of anime fans, but not necessarily to the general public because video games and anime are not the cup of tea of a lot of people. Pero definitely, meron at merong nagva-value sa opinion ni Alodia ng mga tao. Next, let's go to paborito nyo to. Paborito nyo. I don't know. I don't wanna judge. Sorry. Medyo judgmental yung tawa kong yun. Sorry, I'm not supposed to judge. Pero definitely, I don't know kung 50% or more than 50% ang hindi siya gusto among you, among grade 12 students of St. Albert the Great School. Maybe some of you like him. Maybe some of you, wait, sorry kung medyo may na-offend. I don't know kung ano ang identification niya sa sarili niya, gender identification niya, kung siya ba ay he or she. Because that is an issue right now, di ba? Some people, kung they publicly identify themselves as female, ginagawa na siyang she, parang vice ganda, di ba? She ang ginagamit sa kanya. So but anyway, naging controversial din this is Buknoy, tama ba? Sana tama yung pagkaalala ko. This is Buknoy and lately naging trending din siya. Trending is the word right now on social media. He became trending because of certain issues pero not in a good way. Kasi nga meron siyang mga videos na lumabas na medyo judgmental siya sa ibang mga tao. And we all know that whether you like him or not, just like Kim Chu or Mimiya or any other vlogger there, whether you like him or not, he has a certain fan base and he has a certain power to his followers na kung ano man yung opinion niya sa isang bagay ay paniniwalaan ng kanyang mga loyal fans. You may not be a fan, pero alam mo na meron siyang nasasabi sa iba't ibang bagay. And that in a way affects you as well, di ba? Meron kang opinion, hindi nga lang sumasang-ayon, pero meron kang opinion. You were able to create an opinion because of what he said or because of what he puts out there sa mga vlogs at sa social media. So in a way, naapektuhan ka niya. Next. Ito siguro paborito ng marami. Siyempre, ang napakagandang si Ivana Alawi. Although, of course, ang pinoproject niya is a sexy empowered woman image. If you try to watch one of her vlogs, syempre sinubukan ko rin panoorin kasi nga, sino ba yung Ivana na yan? Akala ko parang model lang siya or sexy star. Pero, if you look at her vlogs, more on parang in the vein of yung mga buhay-buhay, 'di ba? Parang keeping up with the Kardashians. So parang yung buhay niya parang ganoon, yun yung uso rin sa mga vlogs ngayon eh. Unless talagang meron kang interesting life, yan ang unless yung buhay mo ay super dull, wag mong gawin yun. Pero since siya ay merong certain kind of background sa buhay niya, Yan, bumabagay yung vlog type niya na tungkol lang sa buhay niya, kung ano yung ginagawa niya, and everybody gets hooked with whatever she does. So, ganun din. Meron ding opinion, may mga ginagawa si Ivana na gusto ng iba at hindi rin gusto ng iba. Pero definitely, siya ay nakakaapekto sa inyo. Ito rin, yan, si McCoy Dubs. Yan, parang McCoy Dubs. Yes. So, yan, no? McCoy Dubs, syempre, sikat siya kasi meron siyang, there's political content na uso rin ngayon na may halong satire, parody, may halong social criticism, ang kanyang sense of humor na nilalagay sa kanyang mga vlogs. Yan, si McCoy Dubs. Paborito ko yun doon sa may university. Hi, I'm McCoy. I'm from UP. Diliman. Yes, yan. Natutuwa rin naman ako sa kanya. Yeah. I think he's from UP Diliman talaga, kaya meron siyang ganyang klase ng humor. Yan, maraming ganyan ngayon. So, baka yan ang future ninyo. Kung kayo ay naturally funny and witty about certain things, try your hand on that. And ang paborito ng lahat, ang Jerry Springer ng Pilipinas. This is Raffy Tulfo. Marami ng Tulfo sa media. At ang medyo trending ngayon, syempre, ay si Raffy Tulfo because of his program, Raffy Tulfo in Action. Anong nangyayari dito? Laging, yun, kung meron kang reklamo at ayaw mo nang dumaan sa kote, yan, idaan mo kay Raffy Tulfo. Of course, there are fans, just like before. May fans, may hindi fans, may gusto, may ayaw doon sa paraan niya. Some people will tell you na we don't get not all people in the Philippines get the justice that they need or that they deserve through our justice system. Kaya parang okay lang yung ginagawa ni Raffy Tulfo. Yung iba naman, ang tingin nila ay hindi ito proper avenue. This is just trial by publicity, by media, na people get judged automatically pag ikaw ay pinatulfo. Pero alam naman natin na hindi palaging kung sino yung nagrereklamo ay siya ang nasa tama. So his program tends to become problematic for people who are forced to be involved in certain issues. But definitely, people listen to what he has to say. Kaya nandito siya sa category ng ating influencers. And of course, ang ating paborito rin na si Jessica Soho because of di umano si Jessica. No. Jessica, of course, is a very respected journalist. Lahat ng mga awards na yan, nakuha niya yan because of her documentaries, her serious reporting. Wag kayong mamimislead. Because those awards, I don't know kung may awards dyan na nakuha because of Kapuso Mo Jessica Soho. I think some awards, but not most of the awards, some awards na nakuha ni Jessica Soho sa ibang bansa at sa Pilipinas ay because of the show Kapuso Mo Jessica Soho. Pero yun yung time na medyo okay pa ang Jessica Soho. Yun yung meron pa siyang documentary type of segments na talagang may social issues involved. Pero lately, gusto niya kasing mahilig. Ewan ko, bakit kailangan niyang bumaba sa level ni yung katapat niyang programa na lumipat na sa Channel 5 na mahilig sa sensationalized, OA, mahilig sa mga di umano na, clickbait kind of stories. Yung parang pang-hook lang, pang-masa. Dati naman okay ang content talaga niya na relevant ang mga issues niya. Pero lately, ewan ko. Pero yun ang humahatak. Nagiging trending tuloy lalo ang show at saka si Jessica Soho because of those kinds of stories. And I don't know, we can't blame the team behind it kung yun ang patok sa mga tao ngayon. But of course, I am expecting more from Jessica Soho. Kasi magaling talaga siya. Pero Ganun talaga. Okay? So, minsan kailangan din nating mag-compromise ng konti sa mga gusto nating gawin so that we can also cater. This is also a business. Business pa rin ang mga TV shows, so kailangan pa rin nating bumenta. So, all of these people are influencers. And influence is one of the most important power of media right now, whether it's mainstream media on television or radio or newspaper, or lalo na ngayon, internet and social media. So, tanong natin, what can media actually do? Ano bang kayang gawin ng media? Kasi kayo, gagawa na kayo ng isang major content, which is a short film at the end of this quarter. At kailangan alam nyo rin, ano ba ang magagawa ng isang pelikulang gagawin ko? Hindi lang ito para sa subject na to. Pag nilabas mo na yan, it will affect other people. It will affect them in a certain degree. So ano ba ang kayang gawin ng media in general? Number one, media can provide information. Alam natin yan. Ang dami nating nakukuhang information sa media. Pero the information that we get is not always credible. It's not always accurate. Dito papasok yung mga legal, ethical, and societal issues that you discussed in your vlogs and that were discussed in the previous lesson. Maraming kayang gawin ang media, pero pag hindi siya nagamit ng tama, nagiging issue siya, nagiging challenge siya para sa ating lahat. Yes, media can provide information, but it can also provide disinformation and misinformation. Next, media can provide perspective. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng, ito lang, facts ang ibibigay ko. Pero pwede rin naman silang magbigay ng opinion nila. Pwede silang magbigay ng perspective nila, ng point of view nila, based on their own research, based on what they know, based on what they experience. Kaya nilang magbigay ng perspective at yung perspective na yun ang pwedeng mag-impluwensya sa ibang mga taong naniniwala sa kanila. So if they say something about the government or if they say something about a person, that is their perspective. But once the audience or the people receive these kinds of perspectives and opinions, it's up to the people to decide if they will believe these opinions or not, or if they will accept this kind of perspective from the media that they are consuming. Silang bahala. Pero minsan, meron talagang mga media content, meron talagang mga media people na talagang super influential na parang kahit na ito ang pananaw mo, basta nanggaling dito sa taong to, nanggaling sa stasyon na to, nanggaling sa dyaryo na to, all of a sudden, naniniwala ka na dito. Nawala na yung dati mong pinapaniwalaan because of the influence of that media entity on you personally. Next, number 3, media can provide entertainment. So alam din natin yan. Kasi nga, ang media, kasama dyan ang mga kanta, kasama dyan mga pelikula, kasama dyan ang mga TV shows. So they can provide entertainment. But just like the way they provide information and they provide perspective, there is a good and bad side to it, di ba? If you mishandle media, doon tayo nagkakaproblema. Sa perspective, balikan lang natin, sa perspective, opinion yan, hindi natin masasabing there is good or bad opinion. There is just opinion na misguided siguro. Hindi natin masasabing mali yung opinion mo kasi nga opinion niya yan eh. Pero there are opinions and perspectives that are misguided. Ibig sabihin, opinion na base sa maling impormasyon. So if the media give you that, then we have a problem. Same with entertainment. There is good entertainment, there is bad entertainment. There is entertainment based on something good and based on something that's misguided as well. So, doon tayo papasok sa ano ba ang kayang gawin ng media. Kaya niyang gawin lahat yan ng magaganda, pero kaya din nilang gawin ang kabaliktaran nun. So, media can create and media can also destroy. So kung kaya nilang gumawa ng magagandang trends, kaya rin nilang mag-destroy ng personalities. They can create people, they can also destroy people. They can create the credibility of someone, they can also destroy the credibility of someone. Isipin nyo na lang yung nangyayari dito sa Pilipinas, di ba? With our politicians. Pwede nilang pabanguhin. That's why pabanguhin ang pangalan ng mga tao. That's why napaka laki. We cannot deny, kahit kapuso ka pa, you cannot deny na malaki ang role ng ABS-CBN in influencing other people. Kaya nga, medyo malaki ang galit or malaki ang sama ng loob ng Duterte administration sa ABS-CBN kasi hindi sila, kumbaga, hindi sila nag-benefit doon sa inaasahan nilang benefit from an influential TV station like ABS-CBN. Kasi kung ang Duterte administration ay nakinabang, kasi nga the issue of Duterte was nagbayad siya para sa political ads pero hindi siya in-air. In-air yung mga sa kalaban, gano'n. Pero kasi nga alam niya na yung reach ng ABS-CBN malaki, yung impluwensya malaki. Buti na lang din, ma-impluwensya din si Duterte as a personality, di ba? Pero kung nagkataong natalo si Duterte, mas malaking issue yun. Pero yun nga lang, baka hindi niya mapasa rin ABS-CBN kasi hindi siya presidente. Pero kung si Duterte ay nag-benefit doon sa ABS-CBN, sa influence ng ABS-CBN dahil nag-play ang mga political ads niya, hindi magiging issue para kay Duterte. Pero kasi alam niya kung ano ang epekto ng ABS-CBN as a media company to the people of the Philippines. Kung merong lumabas na balita sa ABS-CBN, malaki ang chance na paniniwalaan niya ng maraming tao. Kung merong information na galing sa isang artista na konektado sa ABS-CBN, malaki ang chance na paniwalaan niya ng mga tao. But of course, it is not foolproof. Hindi lahat ng mga artista or news people na tumatakbo sa politika ay nananalo. Alam din naman natin yan. Pero kung titingnan din natin na yung mga media people na nananalo naman ay karamihan nanggagaling sa ABS-CBN. Ganon kalaki. Hindi natin madideny ang impluensya ng mga tao pag konektado sa ABS-CBN. So, media can create, media can also destroy. Kung hindi ka nila gusto or meron kang may nagawa ka na hindi gusto ng media, they can turn against you. Tingnan na rin natin yung nangyayari sa Amerika ngayon. In the US, you have the Republicans and the You have the Republicans and the Democrats. Kasi basically, America is divided into two. Para siyang kapuso kapamilya. Pero I don't agree with that. Yung mga Dilawan and DDS. So kung hindi ka DDS, Dilawan ka. Parang marami pa pong ibang kulay sa kahon ng Crayola. Hindi lang po Dilawan at kung anong kulay ni Duterte. Okay? Pero ganun ang pag-iisip ng maraming tao ngayon. Unfortunately, you cannot praise Duterte for something good that he did without being branded as DDS. I-praise mo yan kahit hindi ka DDS, lagot ka, DDS ka na sa tingin ng maraming tao. You cannot praise something Leni Robredo or Aquino did and without being labeled as Dilawan. Automatic na yon para sa ibang mga tao. Pero, hello, tayo po ay mga tao, tayo po ay hindi perfecto, hindi rin tayo perfectly evil or perfectly good. Meron naman tayong nagagawang mali, meron tayong nagagawang masama. Bakit hindi natin ayusin yung masama and give credit, criticize yung masama and give credit to the good ones? Diba? Bawal na ba yun ngayon? Parang kailangan ba black and white ang mundo? So, anyway, balik tayo sa US. So, ngayon, ang media sa US kasi medyo Democrat-leaning sila. Iisa lang talaga yung very vocal na Republican, which is Fox Network. Out of the big 4 or big 5 stations, isa lang ang medyo Republican, which is Fox. So, yun ang ano sa media ngayon. Kung papansinin nyo, karamihan ay medyo leaning towards Democrats leaning towards Biden kung titingnan nyo ang coverage ng election. So, syempre, gagawin nila, hindi naman siguro destroy Trump talaga, pero ang content nila leaning towards promoting Biden and medyo creating a bad image for Trump. So, tignan nyo na rin ito, Pinoy Big Brother Connect. Sabi niya dito, 76,704 unique aspiring housemates as of 3 p.m. October 29. Bakit sa tingin nyo ang daming gustong sumali sa Pinoy Big Brother? Gustong sumikat, gustong yumaman, pero feeling ko doon tayo sa part na gustong sumikat. Whether sumikat ka, pwedeng famous ka or pwedeng infamous ka. So meaning, famous ka in a good way or sumikat ka dahil notorious, meron ka nagawang hindi maganda. So, pero sikat ka, trending ka. Kaya nga ngayon, maraming tao na feeling ko yung iba, mga vloggers, mga gumagawa ng videos nila, kahit na alam nila na parang mapapasama sila sa tingin ng tao, they still provide something. Hindi natin alam, malay nyo, it's all an act. Si Boknoy, it's all an act. Mabait pala talaga siyang todo-todo. Pero dahil alam niyang bad publicity is still publicity, it will still gain you videos, video views, followers. Because that is the reality. 'Di ba? Ang bawat comment mo, ang bawat hate comment mo about a person, it may be a hate comment, but it still counts as a view. It still counts as doon sa trending pagdating sa Twitter. Kina-count pa rin yun eh. So kaya nga sabi ko, yung iba nagtataka, bakit si Kim Chu trending pa rin? Ang pangit-pangit naman ng kanta na yun. Mention kayo ng mention ng Kim Chu. Ang pangit ng video ni Kim Chu. Di na-mention pa rin yun. Kasama pa rin yun doon sa dagdag na trend niya, dagdag na video views niya. Nako naman, mag-isip tayo minsan. Every time you mention the person, kahit negative pa yan, kasama yan sa bilang ng publicity niya. So, yes, any publicity these days, any kind of publicity, whether it's good or bad, is still considered publicity. Plus points pa rin yan, pera pa rin yan doon sa tao. Kaya nga, I wouldn't be surprised kung yung iba dyan, sige, okay lang, pag mabait yata, hindi ako masyadong pag-uusapan, gagawa na lang ako ng issue kahit na medyo makakasama sa akin, and then eventually, mag-a-apologize na lang ako or gagawa ako ng something na very noble and mabait, ganun, para makabawi ako eventually. Kasi lahat naman ng mga bagay na yan, publicity pa rin yan. It still counts to their business. Yun ang tandaan natin sa ating social media ngayon. Kaya nga ito, Pinoy Big Brother. Pinoy Big Brother, sikat na sikat pa rin. Oh, 'di ba? Ang dami na, more than 100,000 na ang nag-audition because it's not really about the money. Secondary siguro 'yun. It's all about popularity. It's all about instant fame. And when you get fame and when you get that popularity, you get to influence people. People respect your opinion, or even if they don't respect your opinion, people will listen to your opinion. Hindi nga lang nila susundin, pero they still listen. Iba pa rin yun eh. Kesa yung walang nakikinig sa'yo at all, mabuti nang may nakikinig sa'yo tapos magdi-disagree sa'yo. At least may nakikinig sa'yo, di ba? You have an audience. May gamit yung boses mo. So I think kaya maraming sumasali sa PBB. It's because of the fame, because of the popularity, and because of the influence that comes with it, that comes with the fame. Influence. Importante sa mundo na to na may impluensya ka. And that is the power of media. Di ba kayo rin naman, gusto nyo merong nakikinig sa inyo na parang hindi nababaliwala yung ideas ninyo, yung suggestions ninyo. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, kasi feeling ko gano'n naman tayo eh. Gusto natin, we want to be heard. We want to be heard by someone. Kaya gusto natin na parang sana maraming views, sana maraming, di ba gano'n din man kahit sa simpleng barkadahan ninyo, gusto mo na deep inside na ikaw ay napapakinggan. So yun nga, the media can influence and the media can affect. Kanina, sinabi lang natin, information, provide entertainment, provide certain points of view, certain perspective. But the bottom line of everything here is that media can influence and media can affect. Affect, malawak yan. Sabi ko nga kanina, whether you like a person or not, that person still affects you. Naapektuhan ka. Naiirita ka nga lang, pero naapektuhan ka pa rin. Something changes within you. Yung pananaw mo nagbabago, yung behavior mo nagbabago dahil doon sa tao na yon. Whether ang pagbabago na yon ay gusto mo o hindi, nagbago ka pa rin because of the influence of that person. Take a look at this photo. We have the 5 major candidates last election, 2016 elections. We have Binay, Duterte, Miriam Santiago, Grace Poe, and baka natatakpan ng video ko. That's Mar Rojas. Bakit ang mga politiko uma-attend sa mga televised debates? Bakit parang importante sa kanila na makita sa TV? Because television is one, if not the most influential medium. Well, the internet is catching up right now as one of the most influential. Pero kasi may tendency kasi sa internet nag-aaway-away lang ang mga tao. At alam ng mga tao yan. Sa internet, mas kailangan mo mag-filter ng maraming bagay kasi ang dami-daming lumalabas doon. Kahit sino pwedeng mag-post. You have to be able to filter things first. Kaya yung mga tao, consume lang ng consume, react ng react pagdating sa internet. But when it comes to TV, there is a certain degree of filter na kailangan mo na lang tanggapin. Hindi mo na kailangan pang suriin, i-filter out yung mga hindi kailangan pagdating sa TV. So pag nadood ka, kung ano yung lumalabas dyan, okay na. Mas madali nang tanggapin. Hindi na kailangang i-sort out. Kasi hindi naman lahat makakapaglabas ng content on television ng basta-basta compared to social media where you can just tweet your opinion and then that's it. Diba? Nandyan na. So ang daming kailangang i-sort out pag internet. Pero ang TV, malakas yan. That's why until now, these candidates are still campaigning through the medium of television. Hindi nawawala ang TV. Nawala na ang pangangampanya sa mawala na ang pangangampanya sa radyo o sa newspaper, pero hindi pwedeng hindi ka makita sa television. Sa ngayon, kahit siguro pandemic ngayon, kahit na malakas, sabihin natin lahat may internet connection, lahat may Facebook account, lahat may Twitter account, ang mga tao magre-rely pa rin sa TV. Kasi feeling nila sa TV, summarize na yan eh, okay na yan, hindi na kailangan ng, tsaka hindi siya magulo. Kahit sabihin natin na marami, involved ka, nagpa-participate ka sa internet, sa mga usapan, sa comment section, but dagulan sa Twitter or sa Facebook, sa TV hindi ganun kagulo. Relatively hindi ganun kagulo, hindi maingay. And people, gusto pa rin nila, after nila mag-voice out ng opinion, gusto pa rin nila makabasa ng something na maayos na madali nang i-digest. Sa TV nakukuha mo yan. Wala na masyadong away-away kasi dyan ng maraming tao. Aminin natin, maraming walang kwentang opinion sa internet kasi nga, anybody can say something. Anybody can just say something, give his or her opinion, misguided man yan o hindi, based on disinformation or misinformation man yan o hindi. Walang makakapigil sa kanila. Kaya, and the politicians know that. Alam nila yan. That's why they still rely on television because they still believe that television is still the most influential medium of all the media that we have. Lalo na sa mga masa. Yan. O tignan nyo, karamihan ng mga gastos nila sa television napupunta. I don't know if this is specific to television, pero ito yung spending ng mga kandidato, karamihan sa television talaga napupunta. So what can media influence? Ano ba ang pwedeng maimpluwensyahan ng media sa atin? Hindi natin alam pero naiimpluwensyahan tayo ng media. Kahit sabihin mo na meron akong sariling pag-iisip, meron akong sariling pananaw sa buhay, hindi natin alam yung pananaw na yon at yung pag-iisip na yon at ang mga desisyon na yon ay nakuha lang din natin because of what we consume from media. So what can media influence or affect in us? So there are certain media influence and media effect theories out there that explain how media can influence the audience or the people. The first one is the hypodermic needle theory. In this theory, the media, sabi niya, directly influences the audience. This theory was developed during the World War I and II period. So hypodermic needle, ano ba yung hypodermic? Yung siringgilya. That's the the syringe. Na para daw yan na yung gustong impluensya ng media, para daw yung ipapasok na lang sa ating brain at i-inject sa atin at nasa loob na ng brain natin. Ganon daw kabilis ang impluensya ng media. Now, hindi na daw ito masyadong nagagamit ngayon. Nagagamit lang siya noon kasi nga sobrang konti ng sources of information during World War I and World War II. It's just radio and maybe newspaper and maybe television. Wala pa kasing internet din noon. So very limited ang source of information ng mga tao. So kung kanino lang nanggagaling ang information, yun ang madalas paniwalaan ng mga tao. Now, let's look at a video about this one. So, ipi-play na natin to kasi baka hindi nyo rin mapanood separately. So, please watch this again. Maikli lang naman to.
Welcome to Media in Minutes, where I talk you through important concepts in media and communication. Today, we're talking about the hypodermic needle theory, which was one of the earliest ways of thinking about how the mass media influences audiences. It was developed in the 1920s and 1930s after researchers observed the effect of propaganda during World War I and events like the Orson Welles War of the Worlds broadcast. The hypodermic needle theory is a linear communication theory which suggests that media messages are injected directly into the brains of a passive audience. It suggests that we're all the same, and we all respond to media messages in the same way. This way of thinking about communication media influence is no longer really accepted. In the 1930s, many researchers realised the limitations of this idea, and some dispute whether early media theorists gave the idea any serious attention at all. Nevertheless, the hypodermic needle theory continues to influence the way we talk about the media. People believe that the mass media has a powerful effect. Parents worry about the influence of television and violent video games. News outlets run headlines like, "Is Google making us stupid?" and "Grand Theft Auto led teen to kill." So how did this way of thinking about the mass media develop? Back in 1927, Harold Lasswell, an American political scientist and communication theorist, published a book called Propaganda Technique in the World War. Writing about the effect of Allied propaganda during World War I, Lasswell wrote, "From a propaganda point of view, it was a matchless performance, for Wilson brewed the subtle poison which industrious men injected into the veins of a staggering people until the smashing powers of the Allied armies knocked them into submission." The Pain Fund studies, which were conducted between 1929 and 1932 and looked at the effect movies have on children, also contributed to this idea that the mass media has a powerful and direct influence on audiences. Although these studies have been criticised for their lack of scientific rigour, they were really one of the first and most comprehensive examinations of how the media works. Writing about the influence of movies, the project chairman W. Charters wrote that they have the potential to profoundly affect the way that children behave. Even in the 1930s, however, researchers were starting to realise that this way of thinking about media influence was kind of inadequate. Then, in 1938, Orson Welles and the Mercury Theatre broadcast a dramatisation of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars. The battle which took place tonight at Grover Mills has ended in one of the most startling defeats ever suffered by an army in modern times. 7,000 men armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against a single fighting machine of the invaders from Mars. 120 known survivors. The rest strewn over the battle area from Grover's Mill to Plainsboro, crushed and trampled to death under the metal feet of the monster, or burned to cinders by its heat ray.
The program, which was presented in the format of a news bulletin, caused some listeners to believe that the Earth was being invaded by Martians. The New York Times claimed that thousands of people were gripped by mass hysteria. While thousands of people may have been panic-stricken, they were only a small proportion of the 6 million people who enjoyed a quiet night around the radio. On the surface, events like these seem to suggest that the media can have a powerful influence on audiences. Nevertheless, the hypodermic needle theory is kind of inadequate to describe the process of communication and media influence. It just doesn't work.
Okay, so it was mentioned. Yeah, so it was mentioned. The word propaganda was mentioned kasi propaganda talaga ang ginagamit to create support from the people, lalo na during war. Di ba, meron din tayong propaganda movement during the Spanish colonization, di ba? Kasi kailangan mong kumalap ng suporta sa mga tao para mag-unite sila for a common cause. At ang propaganda, meron kang isang gustong mangyari at gagawa ka ng iba't ibang paraan para ang mga tao maniwala doon sa paniniwala mo, sa advocacy mo or something. Kung ano yung gusto mong ipaglaban, kailangan maniwala ang mga tao. So you put out different materials, you put out news, you put out posters or kung anumang announcements dyan para lang mapaniwala ang mga tao doon sa gusto mong mangyari. Whether yung gusto mong mangyari ay legitimate or hindi or justifiable or hindi. Doon sa wartime kasi noon, so gusto natin na kung ikaw ay Amerika, gusto mo na suportahan ng mga American citizens ang mga soldiers na lumalaban doon sa war. Kasi kung yung iba sa inyo ay against doon sa war, paano kayo mananalo, 'di ba? Divided kayo. So importante ang hypodermic needle theory para maging successful ang propaganda during that time na kung ano yung gusto kong mangyari, kailangan lahat kayo ay maniwala doon sa sinasabi ko. Para sigurado ako na pare-pareho tayo ng goal, pare-pareho tayo ng adhikain. Nabanggit din yung tungkol doon sa movies, yung mga direct effects. So according to the hypodermic needle, nung time na yon, kumbaga kung ang mga bata ay nakakita na nagbabarilan sa TV, gagawin din nila yon sa real life. Pero alam din naman natin na hindi necessarily ganon. Ngayong panahon na to, hindi necessarily na kung nanonood ka ng violent films or di ba meron ding paniniwala na ikaw ay mahilig maglaro ng violent video games, nagiging violent din yung bata. Meron na rin tayong mga pag-aaral na nagsasabi na hindi naman ganun talaga yon, because there are itong mga violent tendencies na to, nagsisimula talaga yan kung meron na talagang psychological problem ang isang tao, kung meron silang predisposition to be violent. Pero if you're not predisposed to be violent, kahit manood ka buong araw ng mga nagbabarilan, nagpapatayan, hindi ka naman automatically na magiging mamamatay tao. Okay? So one other example that was given there in the video was Orson Welles, yung kanyang radio broadcast. Now Orson Welles is a filmmaker. And nung time na yon, parang wala namang internet eh. So they tried to create, ginawa lang nila yon. They tried to create a radio announcement, fake news, pero it wasn't meant to spread fake news kasi it was meant to entertain. Gumawa lang sila ng isang program, sinasabi nila in-invade na ang Earth ng mga aliens. Pero dahil nga yun lang ang source of information, there's no other way to verify information for many people during that time, maraming naniwala at nagpanic sila. So parang yun yung isa sa ginagawang example ng hypodermic needle na kung ano ang nilagay sa'yo, kung anong sinabi sa'yo, naniniwala ka kaagad. Ngayong panahon na to sinasabi na hindi na siya posible. Pero if you think about it, maraming blind loyal. Uso ang blind loyalty sa maraming tao when it comes to politics these days na parang hindi nila tinitingnan kung tama ba o mali. Basta sinabi niya, agree ako dyan. May mga nangyayaring ganun. Uso rin yan sa mga cults, mga kulto, mga small group of religious people na, kumbaga, I don't know, for some reason, kung ano yung sinabi ng leader nila, without questioning why, yes lang ng yes. And that is a concept of the hypodermic needle theory. Now, this is another example of the effect of the hypodermic needle theory na kung ano yung binibigay mo, propaganda, halimbawa, ay yun ang lumalabas. This is a clip from the movie Captain America, The First Avenger. Ito yung si Steve Rogers, ginawa siyang parang mascot ng US military. At dahil nga siya yung mascot, di ba, bilib na bilib yung mga tao. Kung ano man yung sasabihin niya, this is a propaganda. So, propaganda to support the war. So, ginawa talaga nila to para ang purpose is lahat ng mga tao maniwala sa sinasabi ni Steve Rogers at suportahan ang army. So, this is an example of propaganda and using the hypodermic needle theory. Okay. So, ngayon ko lang din naalala, if you're familiar with Hunger Games, sa Hunger Games, they are dealing with war as well. And dun sa, I think, Mockingjay, yung third film, 'Di ba gumagawa rin doon si Katniss Everdeen kasi siya yung face of the warden. Pinapagawa rin din siya ng propaganda materials, correct? Yung may video rin. Tapos sa umpisa hindi niya makuha yung tamang emotion. So ganun ang isipin niyo na hindi lahat ng nakikita niyo sa media ay totoo. Kasi those things are meant to manipulate people. Maybe manipulate in a good way with good intentions, but manipulate still, 'di ba? So akala ninyo you're forming your own opinion, but you're actually basing your opinion on the things that you see around you created by media for you. So yan, yung mga bagay na yan. Tsaka yung isang napansin ko din doon pala sa Captain America kanina, 'di ba? Ang isang kontrabida nila doon is Hitler. Si Hitler yung merong bigote. So yun din ay isang example of the hypodermic needle, yung mga Nazis during that time. Di ba? Ang paniniwala nila na yung race lang nila, the Germans, the Aryan race, sila lang ang blessed race. Sila lang dapat ang mabuhay. Kaya they try to exterminate the Jews, everyone else, except them. Yung mga blue ang mata, mga ganyan. So kung hindi blue ang mata mo, dispensable ka, kailangan mong mamatay. Parang ganon. And all of the Nazi followers, if you are a Nazi and you are a follower of Hitler, no questions asked. Kung ano yung sinabi niya na totoo, yun ang totoo. Kung ano yung sinabi niya na dapat gawin, yun ang dapat gawin. So yun, kaya tinurok dito ang hypodermic needle, pumasok sa utak mo, and tada, yun na yung bagong paniniwala sa buhay. So that's propaganda. Next one is the two-step flow, where influencers influence the audience. So nabanggit na rin to sa isa sa mga communication theories before na merong isang pangyayari. It's not necessarily the ABS-CBN or GMA or the newspapers ang nag-i-influence sa atin, kundi yung mga influencers, the people who consume media, at sila ang pinaniniwalaan natin. So diyan papasok sila Kim Chu, diyan papasok sila Jessica Soho o sila Tulfo, kung ano ang interpretation nila, whatever their interpretation is of a news event or a certain reality, yun ang pinapasa sa atin. And because we believe in them and we accept whatever they say, kasi nga influencer sila at tayo ay na-influence, kahit ano pa man yun, naniniwala tayo kaagad sa kanila. So this is another video about that.
Welcome to Media in Minutes, where I talk you through important concepts in media and communication. What do Kony 2012 and former US presidential candidate Al Gore have in common? Well, they're both great examples of communication theory called the two-step flow theory. In the early days of mass communication, people believed that the media had a direct and powerful influence on audiences. This way of thinking about media influence became known as the hypodermic needle theory. Of course, communication is a complex process, and this theory soon proved inadequate. In the 1940s, American sociologist Paul S. Lazarsfeld wrote The People's Choice, a book that summarized his research into the November 1940 presidential election. In the course of his research, he discovered that we're more likely to be influenced by other people than the mass media. Lazarsfeld called these people opinion leaders. Along with Elihu Katz, he later published a book called Personal Influence, in which he provided further evidence for this theory. The two-step flow theory suggests that opinion leaders pay close attention to the mass media and pass on their interpretation of media messages to others. Unlike the hypodermic needle theory, the two-step flow theory maintains that audiences are active participants in the communication process. And it's still a theory that has a little credibility today. In a paper presented at the 20th Annual World Wide Web Conference in 2011, researchers looking at the flow of information on the social networking site Twitter revealed that they'd found significant evidence to support the two-step flow theory. After analysing the flow of information, the researchers discovered that news finds its way to people through a number of prominent and influential opinion leaders. They found considerable support for the two-step flow of information. Almost half the information that originates from the media passes to the masses indirectly via a diffuse intermediate layer of opinion leaders who, although classified as ordinary users, are more connected and more exposed to the media than their followers. The two-step flow theory is also of interest to the advertising industry. A long time ago, advertisers realised that word of mouth and recommendations are a powerful way to sell products. Books like The Anatomy of Buzz are all about how important word of mouth is to advertising campaigns. A lot of campaigns set out to use personal influence by targeting opinion leaders. Anecdotally, this is something we can all probably relate to. We're more likely to buy a product if it's been recommended to us by a friend or someone that we trust. So, what do Al Gore and Kony 2012 have in common? They're both great examples of opinion leaders in action. It's important to remember that Lazarsfeld defined opinion leaders as being respected individuals in the community. They weren't part of the media. They were the type of people that we interact with every day. In the age of social networking, however, prominent celebrities and journalists often sidestep the media altogether and talk with us directly. In some ways, these people, while they might be part of the mass media, meet many of the criteria of opinion leaders. Al Gore is a great example of an opinion leader. In 2008, he was the focus of a documentary called An Inconvenient Truth, which followed his campaign to raise awareness about global warming. He's a great example of someone who pays close attention to an issue and helps to sway public opinion. As part of something called the Climate Project, Al Gore enlisted the help of 1,000 public speakers, what Lazarsfeld might have called opinion leaders, to help spread his message about global warming. The campaign reached an estimated audience of over 1 million people. Kony 2012 is an online video created by a group of activists aiming to have a Ugandan war criminal, Joseph Kony, brought to justice. Virtually overnight, the video and the campaign became a viral success. To generate exposure for the campaign, the activists enlisted the help of several celebrities, including actor George Clooney. The success of the campaign can be attributed to a number of factors, such as its slick production value and its use of social media. But the importance that these opinion leaders played in spreading the message through social networking sites can't be overlooked. The two-step flow theory of communication is superior to the hypodermic needle theory in a number of ways. First, it acknowledges that audiences are composed of individuals who are part of a society. They actively interpret media messages and are influenced by people around them. Of course, this theory has some limitations as well. When we're thinking about modern communication, it's very likely that there's more than two steps in the flow of communication. Nevertheless, the two-step flow theory is still an interesting way to think about communication and media influence.
Okay, so for the two-step flow, you have opinion leaders. So kaya nga uso, 'di ba? Balik tayo sa election. It's very valuable to have a famous celebrity endorsing you, pero hindi rin naman palagi. Kung talagang medyo sablay yung politiko na yun, kahit nandyan pa lahat ng pinakasikat na artista sa kampanya mo, wala rin. Or kahit wala kang artista, pero sobrang nabilib ang mga tao sa kakayahan mo at sa plataforma mo, okay lang din. Pero yun nga, two-step flow, it involves famous people or credible people to share their opinion of something at doon tayo naniniwala sa kanila. So sa election, kaya nga rin ngayon uso rin ang mga vloggers. Kaya nga tayo nagvo-vlog because we want a certain degree of influence over people kasi gusto natin yung opinion natin ang mag-matter, na yung opinion natin ang pakikinggan ng maraming tao. Pero of course, not all vloggers are created equal. May mga iba na mas pinaniniwalaan ng ibang tao, merong iba na hindi naman. Okay. Lastly, parang ganito rin yan sa kilala nyo yung bago, hindi ko nga siya na-include doon sa ating pictures before. Si Laika, si Team Laika. Laika yung nagbibigay ng mga iba't ibang tips, iba't ibang snippets, mga lessons sa school, iba't ibang strategies kung paano matutunan ng isang lesson. Minsan nanonood ako ng mga videos niyan, tapos parang iniisip ko, parang ganyan yung mga nabanggit ko na dati sa English class ko. Bakit parang pag si Laika ang nagsasabi? Bakit parang mas naniniwala yung mga tao? Parang nasabi ko na yan dati. Bakit ayaw maniwala na totoo yung sinasabi ko? But of course, Laika is a credible person na build na niya ang credibility niya. And she deserves, of course, all the success. Pero nga, it also shows na na kung powerful and credible and may certain degree of popularity rin ng isang tao, mas napapakinggan siya compared to ordinary people like us. Let's go to the third one, to the third media influence theory. So we have 4. The third one is agenda setting. Ito yung medyo maraming issue dito. Agenda setting. Anong agenda mo sa buhay? Anong motibo mo? Hindi ka gagawa ng isang bagay na wala kang motibo, wala kang dahilan kung bakit ginagawa mo yon. So for agenda setting, the media can focus or arrange information to push for an agenda or motive. Meron kang pinupush. Kaya nga halimbawa, meron tayong tanong dito, ano ba pinaglalaban ng outfit mo? 'Di ba? Nagsuot ka ng off-shoulder and then you hear your friend tell you, ano pinaglalaban ng off-shoulder mo? So, meron kang rason kung bakit mo sinuot yung off-shoulder na yon. Kasi napansin ng kaibigan mo, hindi ka naman nagsusuot noon, pero lagi siguro t-shirt ka or something. Pero bakit all of a sudden you're wearing an off-shoulder attire or clothing? Diba? Ano ang pinaglalaban ng outfit mo? Ibig sabihin nun, meron kang motibo, meron kang gustong mangyari. I don't know kung anong gusto mo. Ikaw ba ay magpapapansin sa crush mo? Ikaw ba ay naiinitan sa araw na yon? Ikaw ba ay may bagong fashion statement or something like that? So, for everything that we do, there is always a motive behind it. Meron tayong dahilan kung bakit natin ginagawa yon. So, ganun din sa media. Meron silang paraan. Akala nyo lang, very subtle lang. Akala nyo wala lang yan. Akala nyo balance ang reporting. Akala nyo fair sila. Pero meron na pala silang pinupush na agenda. So, before we go to some other examples, let's watch this video.
Welcome to Media in Minutes, where I talk you through important concepts in media and communication. Today we're looking at the agenda setting function theory, which suggests that the media can't tell you what to think, but it can tell you what to think about. The agenda setting function theory was developed by Maxwell McCombs and Donald Shaw in 1972 as a result of their study of North Carolina voters during the 1968 presidential election campaign. This study found a correlation between issues that voters believed were important and issues that the media gave prominence to. McCombs and Shaw argued that the media use a number of cues to indicate the importance of an issue. On the front page of a newspaper, for example, the importance of a story is indicated by the size of its heading. Likewise, a story that appears on the front page is more important than a story that appears on page 5. According to this theory, the media has the power to focus public discussion on particular issues. Again, it can't tell us what to think, but it can tell us what to think about. In 1998, McCombs increased the scope of this theory to include a phenomenon called framing. He argued that in addition to telling us what to think about, the media can also tell us how to think about a story. News reports might focus on one particular aspect of an issue or report about something in a particular way. In Australia, we see this happening with news reports about asylum seekers. The Daily Telegraph and the Herald Sun, which are both owned by News Corporation, seem to frame the issue in a particular way, with headlines like 35 asylum sneakers costing us a packet and boat people in our suburbs. Here, the refugee story is framed as a social and economic burden on the Australian people. These stories could be framed to focus on humanitarian issues or whether Australia is meeting its international obligations. A number of studies have been done that make the agenda-setting function theory seem pretty plausible. Typically, they show a correlation between the number of news stories on an issue and how important people think the issue is. Although the agenda-setting function theory has been around since the 1970s, it's still a great way to think about communication and media influence.
Okay. So, ano yung mga pwede nating tignan or tanungin para malaman natin kung ano nga bang agenda ng isang media outfit? Number 1, what stories are in the headline? So, doon, nanonood kayo, TV Patrol, 24 oras. Doon pa lang kung ano yung pinili ng palabas. Ano yung pinili ng isang newspaper na gawing headline, na gawing nasa front page? Hindi ba kayo nagtataka, bakit yun ang pinili nila? Kasi meron na silang agenda. Ito ang gusto naming mabasa muna ninyo. Kasi sa tingin namin, ito ang importante. You think you are actually choosing the stories that you watch or that you read, pero hindi nyo napapansin na pinipili na pala nila ng media para sa inyo kung ano ang importante at kung ano ang dapat nilang basahin. So kung ang mga headlines nila ay puro bagyo, ibig sabihin gusto nila na ang pansinin nyo ngayon ay bagyo. Kung halimbawa ang isang newspaper ay pro-Duterte, malamang dyan, karamihan ng mga stories niyan ay good news about Duterte. Kung siya naman ay medyo anti-Duterte, hindi niya ilalabas kung ano yung mga stories na magaganda about Duterte, pero magfo-focus siya on anti-Duterte. So parang dyan nagkakaproblema ang Rappler. Meron silang sariling agenda, although their stories are based on facts, or we can say that their stories are based on fair and balanced reporting. Meron pa rin silang agenda. Meron silang gustong i-push. Ano bang issue ang pinupush mo? May pinupush sila na something against Duterte. So akala ninyo parang wala lang yon, pero meron palang motibo kung bakit yun ang pinili nila. What photo is in the cover? Sa pagpili ng photo, ano ba ang pinili nila? Pansinin nyo kung ano yung mga pinipili nila. Pansinin nyo kung ano yung halimbawa picture ni Duterte. Yung bang pogi siya, maayos ang mukha, o yung medyo mukha siyang pagod. Or kay Leni Robredo, yung medyo maayos ba ang itsura ni Leni Robredo o yung hindi. Kung papansinin nyo yung mga biased websites na alam natin na meron silang sariling, alam natin na this is DDS or alam natin this is Dilawan, makikita nyo na kagad sa paraan ng mga words, the way they choose the words for their headlines, the way they choose the pictures, kung sino ang kinikilingan nila at kung sino ang bias nila. Makikita nyo doon kung paano nila pinipili. Which interview is longer? Diba? Mas napapaboran syempre kung sino yung mas maraming airtime. Doon natin mapapansin. Mga konting bagay lang yan na akala natin wala lang. Simpleng bagay lang yan. But they are actually different ways on how the media can shape whatever opinion they want to put out there. For example, this one. Kung ikaw, alam niyo to kung ano to? This is the quarry site for the Dolomite, kung saan kinukuha yung Dolomite sand doon sa Manila Bay, sa Cebu. Now, if you are a supporter of the project of the government with regard to the Dolomite sand in Manila Bay, you will not see this. Hindi mo to makikita sa nakasalpak sa harap. Pwedeng nandyan, nasa likod, maliit. Pwedeng wala talaga. Ano makikita nyo? Itong picture na to. Masaya ang mga tao. Makikita ninyo na malinis. Ang linis ng Manila Bay dyan, ha? Yung totoo. Kung di pa kinakapuntan Manila Bay, maitim ang kulay ng tubig ng Manila Bay. Pero syempre, may mga parts na maayos talaga. Dito malinaw siya kasi kung ano yung nagre-reflect doon sa puting sand. So, I am telling you, yun totoo yun talaga. Depende sa parte ng Manila Bay. May part na malinis pero for the most part madumi talaga ang Manila Bay. So, depende sa agenda mo. Ano bang issue mo sa buhay? Dito ka ba? Sa issue na ayaw mo sa Dolomite. So, ito ang ipapangalandakan ko. Itong nangyayaring quarrying. Pero kung supporter akong Dolomite, ito. 'Di ba? Pero to the ordinary viewer, ito lang yung nakita niya, oy, maganda. 'Di ba? So na-achieve yung agenda na i-promote ang Dolomite. Pero kung ito ang nakita mo, ay, bakit ganyan? Nasisira na yung mga gubat at yung mga bundok natin. So, depende sa agenda, kung anong ipupush mo, yun ang ipush mong information sa mga tao. Media can shape or distort reality. You think that what you see around you is 100% real. That is not 100% real. Kahit sabihin pa natin, based on real life, ang programang yan, ang kwentong yan sa MMK, sa pelikulang yan, that is a very realistic scenario or story. Nothing is completely 100% real. Everything you see, everything you read, is still based on a perspective of someone. The perspective of the director, the perspective of the writer, the perspective of the news writers, the news producers. Kahit yung naririnig nyo sa akin ngayon, this is not the complete reality. I cannot say that this is the complete reality because obviously, malamang mapapansin nyo sa akin, I have my own biases. Yung mga examples na binibigay ko sa inyo, hindi siya completely against or completely for the government, pero tipong 70-30 or 80-20 na medyo anti-Duterte ako. So parang ganon. So there is nothing completely real about everything that you read or that you see on media. So, sana ngayon, medyo mas kilatisin natin ang bawat pinapanood natin at bawat nakikita natin or nababasa natin kasi walang 100% real dyan. Everything is based on the perspective of the creator of that media content. It is also related, agenda setting is also related to the concept of framing. It was mentioned in the video a while ago. Framing. Parang ano yan, di ba? Sa framing, pag nag-picture ka, hindi mo naman makukuha yung buo. Di ba? Ang kukunin mo lang kung ano yung gusto mo makita doon sa frame mo. For example, may isang grupo ng tao, nakatabi mo yung crush mo. Crush na naman kasi yan yung mga paborito ninyo eh. Nakatabi mo yung crush mo, 100 yung tao doon, may picture. Anong gagawin mo para magmukhang super close at kayong dalawa lang yung nasa picture? I-crop mo yung picture, tanggalin mo yung ibang mga tao sa paligid para hindi magmukhang this is a group, this is not a group picture, this is a picture of only you and your crush. That is a very simplistic way of explaining framing. May paraan, hindi yan ang buong katotohanan, yan ay maliit na parte lang. For example, ang nakikita nyo ngayon sa aking likuran ay ito. Inayos ko to. Siyempre, because I want you to see this. Because I want to present something. I want to present to you an image of me interested in all of these things. Kasi nga, media-related sila. MIL yung subject ko. That is the reality that I want to show all of you. Pero, tanggalin ko tong camera na to for a while. Ano ba ang reality? This is just my frame. Pero the reality is, ayan, iikot natin. Ayan ang classroom. O, diba? Medyo maayos naman siya. Yan, honestly hindi ko naman inayos yan para sa purpose na to. Okay. Ganyan naman na yan kasi gusto ko rin naman maayos yung classroom. Kahit na hindi siya yung mukhang classroom, at least hindi yung tambak-tambak. Okay? So ganyan ang itsura. Pero ang nakikita nyo lang sa video is this. My background, framing. What is my agenda? My agenda is to show you my reality, is to show you a snippet. Kasi hindi nyo naman kailangan makita yung tambak na yun. Ang kailangan lang naman ay ito. Maayos ang background ko para maayos ang itsura nyo. That is framing. So, maraming bagay na nagkakaroon ng issue kahit hindi naman issue. Depende sa agenda mo. Kaya nga may tanong tayo dyan, ma-issue ka ba o hindi? Kung hindi ka ma-issue, wala kang masyadong papansinin. Kung ma-issue ka, lahat na lang papansinin mo. So, in agenda setting, ito yung pinakita ko before. Diba? Yung naka-middle finger si Prince William. Kung ikaw ay isang ma-issue na newspaper at nakuhanan mo to, I don't know if this was intentional or nagkataon na, syempre maraming media dyan, meron at merong makakakuha ng angulo na ganyan. So, siguro yung journalist naman, hindi naman yung intention talaga na ipakita na, kasi lumabas din naman kaagad ito na this is just a matter of perspective. Hindi naman talaga meant to show Prince William in a bad light. So, pero kung ikaw ay isang ma-issue na tao at gusto mong lagyan ng mali siya at kulay itong issue na to, syempre, hindi mo na ilalabas yung ibang anggulo nito. Ito na yon. Ang sama naman ng ugali ni Prince William, giving the media and the people the middle finger. 'di ba? Anong klaseng prinsipe 'yan? Nag-flip siya ng mga tao, 'di ba? Kung ma-issue ka. But of course, we all know that agenda setting, it's all about perspective. This is what he was showing the people, the number 3. Hindi naman talaga siya nagbi-middle finger. Number 3 pala yan, or kung ano man yan. Kung ano man yung sinasabi niya dyan. So, yun nga. Kung ma-issue ka, ang palalakihin mo yung isang picture, di ba? Kasi yun yung bad, something bad para kay Prince William. Another example of perspective. Gusto mong ipakita na ano ba naman itong mga tao na to, nagsisiksikan. Where is social distancing? Gusto ba nilang magkasakit sila? Bakit sila tabi-tabi? Siksikan silang ganyan. Gusto mo ng issue ng ganon? Yes, pwede mong gawin yon if that is your intention. But, is this the reality? This is the reality on this perspective. Pero, there is another reality, alternate reality. This one is the other reality based on another perspective. Mukha silang nagsisiksikan doon sa isa, pero dito, sakto lang naman pala. Ang layo nga nila sa isa't isa, parang ano yan? Parang mga 1 meter ba yan? 2 meters apart sila. 'Di ba? Galing din, ano? Based on this perspective, siksikan sila. Based on this perspective, same people, same place, pero ibang-iba siya. Ibang-iba ang message na lumalabas dito sa pangalawang picture. So it depends on your agenda. And then the last one, reinforcement theory. In reinforcement theory, kasi more than 1 hour na yata, ako magto 2 hours na ba? In the reinforcement theory, the media doesn't have much power to influence daw. They only reinforce, emphasize, or highlight. Meron na talagang nag-iimpluwensya sa mga tao, sa atin, pero yung media, pag napansin niya meron palang ganitong idea, sasagarin niya yung idea na yon. So, ano yung saan tayo nai-impluwensyahan daw talaga? It's not media, but institutions like your own family, like your religion, and they influence people, especially when it comes to core beliefs about society. So, sino bang nagsabi na maging ganito ang ugali mo? Hindi naman siguro media. According to the reinforcement theory, hindi media ang nagsabi na ganito ang ugali mo. Ganito ang ugali mo because your family brought you up like that. Ganito ang paniniwala mo because your religion taught you that. So, itong media, sasabihin lang niya kung, okay naman yung paniniwala na yan, sige, tuloy mo lang yan. Hindi yan okay. Ito ang tama. So, yun ang magiging role na lang ng media when it comes to reinforcement theory. So, last video.
Welcome to Media in Minutes, where I talk you through important concepts in media and communication. In this episode, we're talking about Joseph Clapper's reinforcement theory. In the early days of communication, people thought that the media had a powerful and direct influence on audiences. In the 1960s, communication theorist Joseph Clapper released a landmark book called The Effect of Mass Communication, in which he argued that the media has little power to influence people, and, most of the time, it just reinforces our pre-existing attitudes and beliefs. He thought it was important to move away from the notion that the media has a direct and powerful influence on audiences, focusing instead on how the media works amid other influences in a total situation. Clapper argued that people's attitudes, beliefs, and behaviour was more likely to be influenced by their schools, family, community, and religious institutions. According to Clapper, the only time the media can influence people is when the media introduces a new idea or concept. He pointed out that there are particular attitudes and beliefs that the mass media is particularly unlikely to change, such as racial or religious views. In The Effect of Mass Communication, Clapper cites hundreds of studies that support his theory, including a 1948 study which revealed that voters were predisposed to opinions and beliefs held by their families, including one young man who said he was going to vote Democratic because his grandfather would skin him if he didn't. Anecdotally, I can kind of relate to this. I can't think of any instances where the media has changed my opinion on an issue, but I can think of quite a few where my friends, family, and colleagues have. A 1970 study that examined the sitcom All in the Family found that people who were like the character Archie Bunker, who was parodied for his racist blue-collar attitude, didn't see the satirical nature of the program and perceived the character as an ordinary guy. As Clapper argued, the media is more likely to reinforce than change. According to Professor Robert Wicks, the effects of mass communication had a pretty profound effect on research into media and communications, creating a framework that allowed researchers from different disciplines to build an understanding of how we interact with media texts. The advantage of the reinforcement theory is that it turns our attention away from the simplistic idea that the media has a direct and powerful effect on audiences, and encourages us to think about the whole picture. Next time you find yourself nodding in agreement when you watch a news or current affairs program, it's probably the reinforcement theory in action.
Okay, so that is reinforcement theory. So ngayon, I want you to try and think about everything that you believe in, or yung mga nag-a-agree kayo ng mga bagay-bagay. Are you in agreement because of what you read or what you hear or what you see over media, over television, internet, radio, newspaper? Or you are in agreement because someone important to you, like a friend or a teacher or your mother or your father or a sibling or a pastor, dahil doon nanggaling ang opinion na yon. So ngayon, kailangan nating tignan sino ba talaga ang nakaka-impluwensya sa inyo. Maybe it's a combination of all those things, of all those people, of media, of different institutions, of your family, of your friends, of your school, of your church. So ang importante, in the end, you decide based on your own understanding, based on your own conscience, based on your perspective, and not because you were forced to agree or forced to give an opinion similar to someone else's. So kailangan importante intindihin nating mabuti ano ba talaga ang gusto kong sabihin, ano ba talaga ang gusto kong lumabas mula sa aking sarili, mula sa aking opinion. Okay. So to end this, let's just try to simplify all the theories of media influence using the crush scenario. So if we are talking about the hypodermic needle theory, sasabihin mo sa crush mo, oy crush, dapat crush mo rin ako. At si crush, para mo siyang nilagyan ng hypodermic needle of gayuma. Okay, crush na rin kita. If only the world is as simple as that, diba? Yung crush mo, sabihin mo lang na crush mo rin, crush me back. Crush ka na rin niya kaagad, diba? Saya ng buhay nun kung ganon. So, ganon ang hypodermic needle. Basta sinabihan mo, okay na. Okay na. Wala nang usap-usap. Basta sinabi mo, okay na yon. Parang ginayuma mo na, pinainom mo lang ng love potion and voila, kayo na, mag-jowa na kayo. Yan, hypodermic needle. If it's a two-step flow, sasabihin mo, dapat crush rin ako ng crush ko in general. And then one of your friends, who is also friends with your crush, at yung friend na yon ay importante. Importante tao, siguro best friend siya ng crush mo. Oy, B, sabi niya sa crush mo. Oy, i-crush mo na rin siya. I-crush mo si ganyan. Kasi crush ka niya. At naniwala yung crush mo doon kay friend. Naniwala siya, so naging crush ka na rin niya. That is two-step flow. Meron mo ng dinaanan na influential person bago naniwala yung crush mo sa'yo. So ganun si two-step flow. Pero mag-ingat tayo sa two-step flow. Baka yung barkada na yun, tulay-tulay, bridge. Alam na natin yan. And then, if it's the agenda setting that you're talking about, anong gagawin mo? You have your agenda. And your agenda, your motive is to make sure that your crush crushes you back or gawin kang jowa. So anong gagawin mo? Magpo-post ka ng kung ano-anong pictures mo na ikaw ay maganda, gwapo, ikaw ay, basta yon, lahat ng mga pictures na jowable ka. Ano pa? Thus, pabebe moves. Lahat ng mga kaartihan sa buhay na sa tingin mo ay makaka-create ng image na ikaw ay jowables, gagawin mo. Pwede rin gumawa ka ng mga nega issues, magkakalat ka ng chismis sa mga kalaban mo para sila ay isa-isang matanggal sa radar ng crush mo at ikaw na lang ang maiwan. Pwede rin yun, gagawin mo kahit na masama yun. Goes to where crush goes. So kung saan siya pupunta, doon ka din pupunta para, 'di ba? Lagi ka niya nakikita, stalker lang ang dating mo. Yan. And likes whatever crush likes. Para kunwari compatible kayo, 'di ba? Kung ano yung gusto niya, gusto mo na rin. Ganon. Actually, itong goes to where crush goes and likes whatever crush likes. Those are simplified version of, I think, na-delete lang siya dun sa PowerPoint ko kanina. It's related to agenda setting. Yan ay ang mere exposure and, or siguro na-skip ko lang, mere exposure and, ano na nga ba yung isa? Mere exposure, yun yung goes to where crush goes. Kasi mere exposure meaning, dahil lang lagi mo nakikita, kaya nga may mga commercial na paulit-ulit. Hanggang sa, oo na nga, parang maganda nga siya kasi paulit-ulit. O, K-pop, ayaw mo ng K-pop nung simula pero lagi mo nang naririnig sa radyo, sa TV, parang, uy, oo nga, maganda rin naman pala ang K-pop, etc., etc. So, mere exposure, nagugustuhan mo na yung isang bagay kasi lagi mong nakikita, nagiging super familiar ka na sa kanya. Tapos naman yung isa, yung nakalimutan ko bigla, yung isa pang related naman sa agenda setting natin is your gratifications. So kung ano yung kumbaga nakakatulong sa'yo, nakakapagpasaya sa'yo, yun ang pinapaniwalaan mong bagay. Okay? So yan ang gawin mo para anong magiging response ng crush mo. Okay, crush ko na rin siya. Parang ganon yung end mo. Because your agenda, your motive is to make your crush like you. So, gawin mo ang lahat ng mga bagay na yan para magawa yung motibo mo. Pero hindi naman yan, akala lang ng ibang mga tao, paborito mo yung lugar na yun, akala lang nila ay marami kang bagong paboritong pagkain, akala nila ikaw ay nag-share ng information about other people because you care about them, pero yun pala, meron kang ibang motibo sa buhay. At yun ay magustuhan ka ng crush mo. And lastly, reinforcement theory, kung halimbawa ay sinabi ng pamilya mo, ang jowa ay dapat may pasalubong sa amin. Tapos sinabi ng simbahan mo, ang jowa mo ay dapat laging nagsisimba at siya ay matulungin. Sabi ng community mo, ang jowa mo ay dapat may paayuda sa lahat ng nasasakupan niya. Yan ang nasa isip ngayon ng maraming tao. So, dahil dyan, walang kinalaman yung media, dahil sa community mo, yun ang opinion, nagiging ganun na rin ang opinion mo. Kaya anong magiging sagot ni crush? Okay, crush ko na kung sino man ang makakagawa ng lahat ng nun. Lahat ng mga bagay na yon. So, hindi media ang nagsabi, kundi ang community ang nagsabi na hindi natin masyadong napapansin lang na yun ang dapat nating gawin. So, that's it. Marami pang pwedeng pag-usapan pagdating sa power of media, but basically it's all about the power of media to affect and influence people. Hindi natin minsan namamalayan na nai-impluwensyahan na pala tayo, but still, media has an effect on us. Media has the power to influence us. Now, as future media creators, as future creators of media content, as future writers, as future television personalities, as future opinion leaders, filmmakers, or anything na may gagawin to create an impact on other people, sana isipin natin kung ano ang magandang epekto ng kapangyarihan na meron tayo. Use our power to positively affect other people. Yun lang naman ang hiling natin. Every time you click on a link, every time you share something on Facebook, every time you tweet something, sana ang purpose natin is to positively affect other people. Use our power with responsibility. Sabi nga ni Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. So use your power to change your society for the better. I'll see you in the next Zoom class.